said from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the he wants.
You are now entering the Sports Drip Podcast. Brought to you by JCA Sports. Jose and Enrique Contreras.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome to the JCA Sports Podcast. Oh, man, I'm losing my voice. Whew. Out of here. Welcome, everybody. My name is Jose Contreras alongside my older brother, Enrique Contreras, and you are now listening to the Sports Drip Podcast live here on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, on Twitter. Make sure to comment. Make sure to share our podcast, like it, love it, follow it. Comment if you like. Well, if you want, I'll drop the link in a bit. So if you guys want to hop on and talk to me and Ricky, we're talking UFC 274 today, and we're also going to be talking Canelo versus Bivol. That happened, both on the same night, Ricky. Both cards were on the same exact night. So a lot to discuss, man. And let's get into UFC 274. Wow, but this was a pretty good card, man. Oliveira reigns supreme, but is still not the champion. He defeats Justin Gaethje via first round rear naked choke. Former lightweight champion Charles Oliveira, Ricky, had to vacate his belt on Friday after weighing half a pound above the division's limit. And as a result, his opponent, Justin Gaethje, was the only person able to walk away with the belt. If he had won, that's a conversation in itself. First and foremost, the fact that he didn't make weight, and we'll get into that.
Right.
But what ended up happening, he dominated. He defeated Justin Gaethje in the first round, choked him out. And although he isn't the champion, everybody knows that's his division. Everybody knows that title is his, and the next championship is obviously is going to be with him. But wow, Ricky, what did you see here in this fight, man?
It's like. I always every year I'm always looking. I find myself looking forward to a Charles Oliveira fight, man, because his fights have been exciting.
Yep.
I mean, and the common theme, at least from what we've seen in his past three fights, he always seems to get tagged with a punch and he goes down, right? He gets dropped, but then somehow comes back, ends up landing a shot on his own, drops his opponent, and then gets his back, submits him, or even finishes him down like he did with Michael Chandler in that title fight for the vacant title.
Yep.
So, and that's basically what we saw here, man. Justin Gaethje, he went for it, but I think he went for it a little too much, man. I did see him get a little reckless in there, throwing some wide haymakers, some that landed, some that missed, and and with Charles Oliveira, he's a much more technical striker. He also has power in his hands, and even better jiu-jitsu, bro, on the ground. And that's exactly what would happen as soon as. Like Gaethje dropped him a couple times, and even Charles Oliveira even tried to bait him to come to the ground. Gaethje knew better not to do that, so Oliveira had to drop him. He had to drop Gaethje himself, put him down on the ground, and he got his back and sank in the rear naked choke.
Yeah,
and that was it, man.
Sunk it in.
Technically, this should be his second title defense.
Yeah, it should have.
It should have been.
Technically, it isn't, but. I think we all know it. We all know what this fight was. Right. This is his division, man. And how How crazy is it that we go from a dominant champion like Khabib Nurmagomedov to someone like Charles Oliveira after Khabib retires, and although he's not as dominant, he hasn't been, he hasn't reigned supreme as long as Khabib has. It looks like he's here for the long haul because this guy is that good.
Yeah. I mean, he's been a lot better than what he used to be, man. I mean, he's been in the game for a long time. Some people used to say that he would give up at the end of the fights when he gets rocked. He has not been doing it, man. For these past 3 fights that he's been in, he overcomes adversity and he gets right back into the fire. He doesn't back up. He doesn't do any of that, the stuff that he used to do. He's in there, he wins his fight, and he's looking pretty dominant in there. And not only that, it's exciting. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I said, I'm already starting to look forward to his next fight now because he's fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% fun to watch, man. Getting into what happened before the fight when he weighed half a pound, higher. I watched the weigh-in. He was a pound. He weighed in at 100 and was it 56? 156?
I believe it was. They said it was about like half a pound over. Like right. He was probably like like about somewhere around there.
He was. I think originally 156. They put the curtain around him. He took his off. He took his shorts off, and then he weighed 155. But that was enough to strip him from his belt. Ricky, he's a champ. This isn't new to any of these guys. These guys know the rules. They know what they're supposed to do. How surprising was it to you that he didn't weigh 155 like he was supposed to?
Man, I don't know, man. This whole thing was weird to me. Like the fact that he got stripped for the title really, really blew my mind. I mean, it's a half a pound over. I mean, in my mind, I don't think it makes much of a difference, and then some people are saying that somebody messed with the scale or someone was off with the scale. We really don't know what was going on, whether he was a half a pound over or someone was up with the scale. But nonetheless, man, this was very strange that this whole thing went about, and it's unfortunate that he got stripped of the title because he is rightfully the champion, and everybody knows that.
Yep.
And this should have been a second title defense. Instead, the good thing too is that this didn't distract him either. This normally would have been a distraction for most people. You're going into the fight and probably pissed off that this whole thing went down. You probably thought you made weight, but he didn't let this get to him at all. He went in there and took care of business like he was supposed to.
Yep.
And now he's number one contender for the title is vacant. He's gonna do it all over again.
I mean, I don't know about you, but if that happened to me, I'd be pissed off too, and I would go in pissed off. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to prove to you guys. Yeah, I couldn't make weight. That's fine. Whatever. This is still my division. You still got to go through me to be the champion. And that wasn't so for Justin Gaethje, man. And for Justin Gaethje, another crack at the title, Ricky, another loss. I mean, here you are again, man. Like, if you're Gaethje, where do you go from here?
I mean, look, he's still in the top 5, man. He's in a pretty good spot still. He can always make his way back up. As far as what's next for him is who he fights next. There is Beneil Dariush, who was supposed to fight Islam Makhachev a couple months back. Didn't happen. He had to pull out of the fight. And Dariush has been on a long winning streak. So I think a fight between those two could happen. That's what I could see next for him as far as Justin Gaethje.
Do you ever think do you think you want to be champion, Ricky? Is that in his future, or do you think as long as Charles Oliveira or guys like that are up there, it's a pipe dream?
I honestly don't see it, man. As far as because Charles Oliveira, for as long as he could do this, man, I think he's gonna be up there. And not to mention, we got another contender there who I think he's gonna fight next is another dominant fighter in that division, man. So as far as Gaethje, I don't know, man. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Who's next for Charles Oliveira? Who do you think should face him and should be the next number one contender?
Yeah, good thing you asked, man. I believe the next guy is Islam Makhachev. He's definitely next.
He said that.
Islam Makhachev, man. I mean, look, he hasn't He's also on a very long winning streak. I believe he's undefeated. I'm not. I think he is. But
I think he has one loss. I think
he probably has one loss. He has one loss, but he's on a very long winning streak, man, and he's been dominant. He's been submitting guys. And really, he's the only guy that I see next. I mean, some people want to see him fight against Beneil Dariush like it was supposed to happen, but I think he should fight Charles Oliveira next for that vacant title. And then, depending on what Dariush does, if he's able to beat Gate or whoever he fights next, really, he'll probably get the next shot. But nonetheless, man, Islam Makhachev is next for Charles Oliveira, and that'll be a great fight.
How full circle will this be? Khabib Nurmagomedov was that lightweight champion for so long. Retires undefeated. He vacates his championship because he retires. Here comes Oliveira, starts to dominate, and the next person that could potentially take his title is Khabib Nurmagomedov's cousin, Islam Makhachev, who is just as dominant and just as crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, dude, this is as far as full circle, man. I mean, it went from Khabib Nurmagomedov, who was completely dominating everybody, finishing everybody basically in the first or second round, right? Just completely dominant. And then it goes to Charles Oliveira, who I would say is probably putting on a lot more exciting fights. I mean, it at least starts off a little more competitively, right? He get
100%.
You know what I mean? But then it's like he gets hit and he gets rocked, he gets dropped. And then just when these guys think that they got him, all of a sudden he just gets right back up, knocks you back down himself, or even sinks in a submission and finishes you. So it's like, man, what a come around this has been for real. And for Islam Makhachev to come in, who we could say is like another Khabib Nurmagomedov, this fight is very, very interesting because we got two guys who are very good on the ground, high submission rates, and also pretty good stand-up. So, I mean, if you ask me who wins, I don't know what to tell you right now, man. You got to give me some time.
No, I agree with you, man. It's gonna be a crazy fight if that is the next fight to happen, regardless of the fact whoever it is, because Charles Oliveira is gonna be a part of it. It's gonna be worth watching. You listen to the Sports Drip Podcast alongside my brother. My name's Jose Contreras. That's Enrique Contreras, and we're talking UFC 274. The co-main event, Ricky, was pretty shocking to me. I'm not gonna lie to you. Rose Namajunas lost her championship.
Yeah.
It's
also the complete opposite. Also the complete opposite of what whereas the main event was exciting, the co-main event not so much.
Not so much. She loses to Carla Esparza in a stunning upset by decision, man. It went all 5 rounds. As you said, it wasn't as exciting as a lot of us thought it was, especially with Thug Rose in there. And we know how what she's capable of. She can knock people out. But that wasn't the case, man, with Carla. Carla came out the winner. She was the new women's strawweight champion. What did you see here, man? What happened with Rose?
I don't know, man. She looked very hesitant in there. I mean, they both did, really. They both looked pretty hesitant in there. They didn't seem like they were trying to go after it. Esparza was going for takedowns, got him. Rose would get up, and then, I mean, it was mostly we didn't see much in there, man. It was really mostly nothing. Esparza probably landed more significant shots. She also got the takedowns, but really there was nothing. There was really nothing to see here as much. And then, not to mention, I think Thug Rose's corner also kind of betrayed her a little bit. They were telling her that she was winning. Pat Barry, probably telling her, you're winning the fight, as if, I mean, it was baffling to me. It really was, because I didn't see that watching this fight.
Right.
I didn't see that she was clearly winning this fight like Pat Barry was telling Rose. So, and if anything, that's what did her in, man. The inactivity and the bad advice from the corner.
Yeah. 100%, man. Crazy. But I mean, Pat Barry, as you said, did come out and said that, it's on him. But at the end of the day, man, your Rose, this isn't your first rodeo. You know what it takes to win. You know what it takes to be a champion. And it seemed like she just didn't have it. She did not have it, man, and that cost her title. Were you surprised that the decision went the other way, though?
No, I wasn't, man. I think I wasn't surprised, really. I thought Carla did win just by whatever she actually did.
Yeah.
Anything that she did. And then plus, when not much is going on, they also look for octagon control as well, and as well as takedowns. So, and I would say that Carla Esparza kind of had that there with octagon control, and she did have some takedowns, and I think she did a little bit more, but that's not saying much.
Right. Well, so do you think there's going to be a rematch? Does Rose get a rematch here? Or do you think Carla Esparza just moves on to the next one, man? Who's next for Carla Esparza as far as the strawweight women's champion goes?
Yeah, I mean, as far as a rematch, that ain't happening. I don't think everybody right now is clamoring to see a third fight between these two. So, I mean, it could happen, but I don't think, because some would say that Rose Namajunas deserves it, but I don't think it's happening.
Yeah,
I think Carla Esparza is probably going to get the winner of the Zhang Weili Joanna Jędrzejczyk fight. That's happening, I believe, next month. So, whoever wins that fight, that's who she'll probably fight next for sure.
Yeah, as far as Rose, and how does she get back to that title contention, man?
Within the next fight, I think her next fight would probably be against someone like Marina Rodriguez, who has also fought Carla Esparza. She's on a 19-1. Her record is 19-1, and she's only lost to Esparza. So, and that's who Esparza actually asked for next, who she would like to fight next. But I think she'll get the winner of Zhang Weili and Joanna, and Thug Rose should probably fight Marina Rodriguez, and probably the winner of that fight would probably get another crack at the title. I mean, that's the way I see it.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. You listen to the Sports Drip Live podcast alongside my older brother, Enrique Contreras. My name's Jose Contreras. Guys, make sure to follow us on Anchor and on Spotify. That's where you're going to catch all our shows, our past, previous, our current, our future episodes. All will be there on Anchor and on Spotify. Look for us at JCA Sports Podcast. And, of course, you guys can comment. As you can see, our boy Eric Avila, who just had a show at 6 p.m. the EFP podcast and will be next on the JCA Sports Podcast. Hi, guys. Good show. He's watching from YouTube. You guys can watch us from YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Eric Avila. Not the only Ricky. Let's talk about one more fight before we move on to the Bivol and Canelo, and that was Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson. This was crazy.
Oh man!
Exactly, I think what we expected would happen. We knew someone was going to get knocked out in this fight.
Yeah,
and that's
the problem is that Tony Ferguson doesn't get knocked out, and he got knocked out bad, bro. Bad.
Michael Chandler defeated Tony Ferguson knockout in 17 seconds in round number 2.
Yeah,
this was a nasty head kick. Then it landed right on the button, right on the chin. And Oliveira was out for a while. He was out for a good maybe 2 minutes.
He was. But let's not forget too, man. He had a pretty good first round. Ferguson he actually dropped Michael Chandler.
Yep.
I believe once or twice in there, and he landed some really significant strikes. So he had a pretty good round, man. Probably a lot better than what most people thought, because Tony Ferguson, man, he's been on a slide lately. As far as he's been losing, before this fight, 3 fights in a row, and a lot of people were expecting. He probably wasn't. Probably his best days are behind him, and he wasn't going to do as well. But he did well in the first round. But man, we barely got into the second round, and then Michael Chandler connects with it looked like a soccer kick, dude. Like it came or like a punt kick from football. Came right up, got him right on the chin.
He hit the field goal, Ricky. He hit the field goal.
He hit the field goal. He did, bro. Right on the money too. Knocked him out. I mean, Tony Ferguson is a guy that has never been knocked out in his career. He is very hard to finish. Very, very he's very hard to submit, because in his last 2 fights, man, he nearly got his leg and his arm almost completely pulled off of his body.
Yeah.
So the dude does not give up on himself, and he's very hard to finish, especially being knocked out. And then we saw it, and when I saw it, I was like, holy shit, man. Went out instantly, fell flat on his face. When the referee turned him around, I mean, you saw the dude was out. His legs crossed for some reason. Dude was as stiff as a board. Yeah. Out for like about 2 minutes. It was tough to watch, man. I'm a big fan of Tony Ferguson, and for him to go out like this, it's got to be rough.
Yeah, it has to be rough. And you're right, because for so long. This guy was so exciting to watch. It still is. Like I said, he had a really good first round. It seemed like it was going his way, and he could have won this fight. But that's how dangerous Michael Chandler is, man. His striking ability is top notch. You can literally, it's up there with everybody, with the rest of them. And you know his fight, this guy does not back down from nobody. You know he's going to go and it's going to be a bloodbath. Because a lot of his fights are. A lot of his fights are.
Yeah, just like Charles Oliveira, man. This guy is very exciting to watch, man. I also look forward to watching his fights too, man, because these guys never disappoint, man. They come in and they put on performance of the night, they put on knockouts of the night, finishes of the night. It's just fun to watch, man. I'm enjoying this ride. Fun
to watch, and he just delivered another highlight reel for everybody, man. The way he knocked him out.
He might have knockout of the year depending on what goes on the rest of this year, man.
Yeah,
that is one hell of a knockout.
It was, and you know what? The way the UFC has been putting out their cards, he might have competition, right? You never know. I mean, it seems like there's gonna be a lot of good fights that come up, and man, that fight was something else for sure. Again, you listen to the Sports Gym Live podcast, guys, alongside my brother Enrique Contreras. My name is Jose Contreras. Ricky, real quick, what's next for Michael Chandler? Where does he go from here?
Man, well, he's not going to get an immediate title shot, against either Oliveira or whoever Oliveira fights next, right? It's not going to happen, at least not yet. But I think the next good fight for him should be Dustin Poirier. I think that should be the next fight. That would be an exciting fight. That'll be an exciting fight to watch too. So I don't believe these guys have fought. So that's a fresh matchup right there, and it should be good.
Yeah, fresh matchup. Two guys, two pretty much almost the same guy, same character almost.
Yeah,
it definitely should be a good fight. Let's move on to some boxing, Ricky. As King Canelo Alvarez is king no more when he loses to Dimitri Bivol at 100. It was 175 pounds. Is that right? 170.
It was at 175 pounds.
175 pounds light heavyweight division. He moved up. This is his second fight, I believe, in that division. But this time he was facing the champ, a ready champ, in Dimitri Bivol. And Ricky, as I told Eric and John on Monday, I think Canelo was way in over his head here. And I brought up Israel Adesanya, and you know how dominant he is in the middleweight division, just like Canelo is in the UFC. He went up to fight Jan Blachowicz when he was light heavyweight champion, and what happened? He got smashed. He got humbled quick. You can't go up and move up and expect to be as dominant as you are in these in smaller weight classes. It doesn't work that way, man. Especially against undefeated in Dimitri Bivol.
Younger, bigger, longer.
Yep.
I mean, not on top of all, on top of that, man, on top of being the champion, this dude was younger, he was bigger, longer, and I mean, just a stone cold dude, man. I mean, you could see it, and he was in there, and he had no emotion on his face. He didn't let the pressure get to him. He didn't let the hype of Canelo Alvarez get to him. I mean, he was like, well, this guy's another guy, and I'm gonna beat him down, and that's what happened, man. He beat him. I mean, he didn't finish him, but he beat him pretty good.
He did.
Hey, Eric. Yeah.
Eric from the JCA Sports Podcast here, which is up next, guys. Don't you dare touch your screen. We're coming up next for the JCA Sports Podcast coming up at 9 o'clock, but we're talking right now Dimitri Bivol, Canelo Alvarez, and Ricky, I agree with you, man. He was a bigger guy. He was a faster guy, it seemed like. The stronger guy.
Yeah.
He's legit, man. He's a legit stone cold killer.
Yeah. A natural 175 pounder too.
Yep. And I think that's what did Canelo win. He's not actually that big. He isn't. And you can tell because he was the much sluggish. He was like the much sluggish fighter, slower. And he got tired quick, and to me, I don't think he won 3 rounds. I don't think it was as close as the judges said it was. Canelo won 3 rounds the most, and Bivol dominated most of it. As we bring in Eric. Eric, we talked a little bit about Monday, man, but just for the folks who were watching, who wasn't watching on Monday, what are your thoughts on that fight?
Oh, definitely. And he was way over his head on this one, man. Look, I love Canelo. He's probably the next Mexican or boxer or anybody that watches boxing or understands boxing like that. That to me, watching him I didn't watch it live. I watched it the day after, but even though, still the same thing, right? But even then, so watching him fight, it didn't look like the same Canelo Alvarez. It looked like me back in college, and then all of a sudden, I just gained all this weight, and then he just looked that slow. Okay, maybe I wasn't too cut. I'm just lying here, but nah, he did look big. He looked chonchito. That's how I like to call it. He looked a little bit chonchito there. He looked like all that muscle mass that he had in middleweight, kind of lost it. It just, when you add a lot of muscle or a lot of weight to your body and you're not used to boxing in that way, it's a recipe for disaster. And the fact that he went up against the champion of that division just kind of put in display that Canelo was in over his head.
Yep, in over his head a whole lot. Ricky, how disrespectful was this for Dimitri? How disrespectful was this for Dimitri Bivol? He wasn't. Usually, we know, you and I know, we watch enough boxing, enough wrestling, enough UFC. Where the champion, especially if you're going for that champion's belt in that weight class, comes out last. He comes out last. He gets announced last. It's supposed to be him, but it wasn't. It was Canelo. Canelo came out with the big entrance. Canelo came out like he was the man. And I get it. He is, especially in sport boxing, compared to the two, he is. But this wasn't his weight class. This wasn't his that they were fighting for. It was Dimitri's.
No, it was Dimitri's for sure, man. I mean, it's just like you said, man. Canelo's obviously the biggest star in boxing right now, and of course they're gonna roll out the red carpet for him. Nobody outside of true boxing fans know who Dimitri Bivol is, and and then now they got introduced to who he is. I mean, this guy was the much more accurate puncher in this fight. Usually when Canelo's in there with his opponents tend to they tend to wear down. They start to lose steam as the later rounds go on. But that's not what Dimitri did, man. He was landing combinations. That jab was very consistent. If anything, what Canelo really did in this fight, he beat the shit out of Dimitri's arm. But it didn't really seem to slow him down at all, not even one bit. So. And he was in over his head, man. He was in there with a much younger, like I said, younger, bigger, longer guy, and a guy that's not going to fade in the later rounds like a lot of his previous opponents did. And he was just, he was in his face, throwing combinations, landing, and that's what happened, man. He got humbled.
Yeah, he got humbled here, man. And
I don't think he got humbled.
he got humbled, Eric.
No, look. The humble part, I get where you guys are coming from, right? Obviously, you're right. The champion always comes out last, but guys, got to remember that it was Cinco de Mayo weekend. Even if it was on Mexican Independence weekend, it would have probably had the same thing. Canelo Alvarez is the biggest boxing star that boxing still has right now, and the only one at the moment that boxing has right now in Canelo Alvarez. But come on, guys, even if this was any other weekend outside of you know what?
Well, a lot of people were expecting him to win, though.
Let me backtrack. I don't think it had to be the Cinco de Mayo weekend. Honestly, it's a little bit more for the Cinco de Mayo, just like if it would have been for Mexican Independence weekend too. But you're right. I think any other matchup or any other week, you will probably have the same effect. But still, I don't think humble is the right word. Oh, maybe a little bit, but Canelo
maybe a little bit, but yeah, it's like I said, a lot of people expected that Canelo was going to win this fight.
Yeah.
At first when it was announced, I thought he would, but then as time went on, I started learning more about Bivol. I was like, I don't know, man. This looks like it's going to be a real test for Canelo. A real test for Canelo here.
He was on his natural weight. Of course, Canelo was going to get the disadvantage. The only thing that had Canelo in the advantage is the name. That was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, fun show, short show, but hey, we went over what we needed to go over. That was UFC 274 and Canelo Alvarez versus Dimitri Bivol. Ricky, we'll be back next Monday. We'll be back next Monday.
Next Monday.
I'll see you guys in a bit.
Next Monday, we'll be back at 8:00. Yeah, Sports Drip Live. I'll explain in a bit. I just broke news right now.
Breaking news for me.
We'll be back next Monday, guys. So make sure to tune in on the JCA Sports Podcast and the Sports Drip Live Podcast. We will be live Monday. For Eric Avila and Ricky Contreras, my name is Jose Contreras. Stick tuned because the JCA Sports Podcast is up next.
Right. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.